Welcome
Welcome
to
to another scintillating edition of But That's But That's Not Important Right Now. Hey,
Wow.
hey.
All right, well, we're going to be live in 1 minute. So those of you who
We're gonna
are
be live in a
listening to
minute.
us on
This is
Monday,
good.
happy effing Monday.
Yes.
We
Happy
did a,
freaking Monday. Thank you so very freaking
this
much.
is our live 10th episode. I think every 10th episode I try to do something live on Facebook.
Live.
Uh,
Live.
we're going to do another live one at the end of this season before we take a little hiatus break. Um, this one was kind of requested by a bunch of people.
Yes.
So we have Quincy and we have Anthony back with us today, and I'm trying to get other people like my friend Joshua, young boy. He's a young graphic artist. He's very
Yeah.
talented, and
Yeah.
I think you may not know his brother. His brother went Fatima, Hawaii, Hawaii guy,
Well,
Hawaii.
the name Hawaii is a very common one
Yeah.
in
No, he
Fatima.
didn't go Fatima. I just can't
Yeah,
remember if he went in your time or if he was in my time.
we had a teacher. We had a teacher back in the '80s, a Miss Hawaii. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just speculating. I have no idea.
Anyway,
I
so
couldn't tell you.
we're live on Facebook. Hello, Facebook.
Hi,
Whoever's watching.
Facey
Let me check and see if
Hi, hi, Mark
anybody's watching.
Zuckerberg, wherever you are.
Is anybody watching? Let me check if I
You're not
restart.
gonna lock me up, are you, Marky?
I think I'll have to restart this.
Give me some of them good vibrations, Marky Mark. Where's your funky bunch? Hmm.
Oh, oh,
You got some
oh,
good
oh.
vibrations.
We have no viewers.
None.
None. None.
Because
But that's all right. I mean, they will come and they'll start trickling in eventually, because it will appear on their feed. Uh,
yes.
Now I have a problem because Facebook has me in a sort of semi good behavior jail. I was in jail about a month ago.
Yeah, you were in jail about a month ago. I remember
I
that.
have 3 more days left on my probation. I cannot.
Oh,
Well, what they said was I can't post to groups, and my posts will be lower down in the newsfeed, so nobody will see it. So that's
oh,
that's like that's like telling you, well, you could post, but we're not gonna let anybody see it. So you might as well just go bother. But I
wow,
mean,
that
that's
sucks.
why that's why I've been using my other account, Sterling Thomas, and I've been using tagging you all and tagging everybody because that's the only way I could, get it out there. So
Yeah.
that's what. Oh yeah, we have one viewer. Let me see where the
One.
comments. We have
One is the
comment on
loneliest. No, okay.
this comment box. Why can't this comment box stay in the right place? All right, I'm gonna ask a question in this thing just now,
Okay.
but if there is anyone there, please do comment. Um,
Let us know if anybody's out there in the
we,
wild blue yonder.
we need to
I'm all
know.
curious. I
uh,
want to know what's going on.
right. So last week we talked about
What did we
awards,
talk about last week?
and that kind of
Remember, you shall have to help me.
segued into what is working in an agency now.
Right. Yeah.
Now meaning post unspecified virus or whatever you want to call it. We don't want to talk. We made it a policy not to talk about the pandemic on this podcast, but
El pandemico. Mhm.
it has impacted life and work and whatever.
Yeah.
So now that the government kind of announced, what did he announce?
Well, I think he said that he wanted to remove virtually all of the mandates. What the hell are you eating?
Salad.
Is that cereal
We have
or
one
minestrone?
viewer. No, it's salad.
Oh,
Wig
it's salad.
Meister. Hello,
For a minute, I
Wig
thought it was
Meister.
for a minute, I thought it was minestrone or something. Anyway, no. From what the prime minister was saying, in his infinite wisdom, he decided that he wants to remove all the mandates. That means, I guess, we can no longer wear the masks. Mask wearing is no longer mandatory. I'm guessing here. We can go back to pretty much what we used to do before the pandemic. That's what he's saying basically.
We sent all,
Although he,
we sent all the government workers back to work.
yeah,
Meaning
and I
that
think
they
he's going.
physically have to go back out to work.
They have to physically go back out to work, and I think he also said something to the effect that if they're monitoring what's going on outside of TNT, so that if things start to get out of hand and that the cases started rising again, and if there are more horror of horrors fatalities, then we'll have to go back to the fun time of wearing masks and physical distancing and washing of hands and so on and so forth. I don't know. I just feel that we should be erring on the side of caution as far as that's concerned, because if we look at particular places like Hong Kong, especially, it's extremely bad in Hong Kong right now. In fact, I remember there was a report that said about a day or two ago that there are thousands of fatalities and they only have like about 300 coffins left. So that's how bad it is right now in Hong Kong. And there's also been an upsurge of cases in mainland China. That's obviously where the virus originated. So we need to keep a close watch on that, because we just can't afford to let our guard down now. I mean, there's a very good possibility that as the days and weeks go by, we could be pretending that, well, not pretending, but we could be thinking that everything is hunky-dory, when in reality, there could be a sudden upsurge in cases, in fatalities, and then it's back to square one again. And then we're going to have to be wearing masks.
They have said already, excuse me, sorry, I'm eating.
That's okay.
They have said already that they're never going to lock down like what they did before.
Yeah, well,
they're to the point where if you're not vaccinated, crap, as we say,
yeah,
that crap will smoke your pipe.
well, I mean, look, they are politicians. They will say just about anything, in order to placate their supporters, their voters, and what have you. They're politicians. They will say that. That, and it's not just it doesn't just apply to here, but everywhere. A politician is going to say one thing and then they're going to do something completely different in the next breath.
Honestly, I don't think he can afford to do it like that again.
No, he can't.
He can't afford.
Because if he tries to do that again, it's going to seriously undermine him politically if he were to try something like that again.
But the reason why we're talking about this is because work-wise, if you're working not in the public service, but the public service does apply, if you're working anywhere, you cannot afford to close your business again.
No, you can't.
Right? So if we go back to a situation where we have to do a lockdown or some sort of limited thing, then everybody, and especially when it comes to kids in schools, I have a personal feeling about it. But if you bring back, if you tell people, no, you have to stay home and do work, a lot of businesses are probably going to be like, no, we don't want to do that, right? So, anyway, what is disturbing to me is going back to normal. What is normal? We have gone through a year and a half. What do you call it? A year and a half?
I would say 2 years, because we started getting the first official case of COVID in TNT was on March 12th, 2020, if memory serves me right. And it's been 2 years, a week, and 3 days since.
But we came off of a lockdown.
Yeah.
And we went back into a lockdown.
That's correct.
And we kind of did a little bit of up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that we were in a lockdown forever, except for kids. Kids were the only ones who couldn't go to school, who couldn't do anything. It's only recently that, but what I'm saying is most businesses had 2 years to sort out remote work. Now you and I don't work. Well, you work in a situation where you can't do remote work.
I can't do remote work at all because I work in radio.
That's different. Media is a different beast. But I've been working from home even before the pandemic. So I mean, I don't have that experience. which is why I want to bring in people. I wanted to bring in my friend Joshua, but he hasn't arrived yet. But I'll bring in Anthony and Quincy, who both work freelance, but they don't, what's the word? They have worked in offices as consultants and working and so on. And what Quincy has said in previous episodes and what Anthony have both said is that we don't need to work in an office
Correct.
in the advertising marketing world,
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me bring
So,
let me
okay, so you're bringing in our guests now?
let
Okay,
me
great.
bring the people and we could start really talking about it.
Yes, we can talk about this in earnest, with the working from home, the concept of working from home.
Now, let me
I
tell
think it's something that it's
you.
at the risk of stealing a cliche, it is an idea whose time has come. And
Hello.
hey,
Hello.
I hear a voice.
Are we
I'm
stealing
hearing a
people?
voice.
Hold on. I just I'm gonna respond to a comment here. You all keep talking.
Okay. Okay, we'll keep talking. That was the comment. We'll keep talking. Just keep talking.
No, you keep
Really?
talking.
Okay, I'll keep talking. Okay. No, I'm just saying that it's an idea whose time has come, just to steal a cliche, and it has to be in tune with 21st century realities. I mean, working the traditional workspace is not what it used to be. What would work for you, say in 1996, or even in 2002, it's not going to work in 2022. So we need to come up with revolutionary ideas. And the problem with that is, and I don't mean this as a sort of blanket indictment on the local work culture, although it may sound like that, but we really do need to have more imaginative, more creative methods of working from home in a way that we can be more productive, in a way that it would mean less stress and so on, you know, because it would save so much, not just in terms of physical energy, but in terms of the costs of travel, cost of gas, that kind of thing. If you have a car, little things like that, little things like that, you know, and
I
that's
set,
something we
I set up a little question in the chat in the thing here for
yeah.
people asking them. And I kind of asked around today very quickly and informally, what is the situation right now? Because for the announcement, what you call quote unquote the prime minister's announcement, I don't really consider it an announcement. It was him in
Mhm.
front of the party people saying he's going to open up.
Yeah.
But what has it led to is it led to a lot of people saying, yeah, well, we back out to work already. And I didn't know what that meant because I don't work in an office, right?
Mhm.
So that's why I kind of brought Quincy and Anthony on. But Quincy, you don't work in an office, and Anthony, you don't work in an office. But what have you all been hearing?
Um, a mix of people going back out to all they had about here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
yeah, we heard
picking
you.
up loud and clear, Quincy.
Yeah,
Cool.
a mix of people going back out to work on various types of work arrangement, like 2 days a week, 3 days a week, that sort of thing. Some people had like once a month, once every month, you go in and check up, but essentially working from home. And but that kind of come into an end. So like a lot of people getting the orders to come back out. I have some friends going back out next week, that kind of thing. And it mix people's reactions, of course. You have a mix again, but the majority is on. I want to continue working from home,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Um,
And a couple of people that over the whole pandemic period, I met two people that were really, really strong about going back out. People who was cutting corners and taking every loophole to still go out while it had things locked down. They try to get themselves as essential a worker as they could have been to get out to go to the office because they just like that vibes.
yeah.
Yes, and which was interesting.
I was hoping that this boy Joshua would have arrived, But he said he did have another meeting. He didn't know if he would be able to make it. But the reason I asked Joshua to come in is because Joshua messaged me this morning. He said he's been out full time since last year. And I found that very strange because I'm like, but there are no companies that I know of who had asked employees to come work full time. And this is a marketing, advertising, creative company. So it's within our slot and within our industry. And I'm like, so did you not say that you prefer to work from home? And he said, no, they told him if he wants to work from home, he has to take a 50% pay reduction.
So
Whoa.
I'm like, what?
50%, that's plenty.
No, but when
That
they
is
when the when the lockdown happened in 21, I asked him how things, because I used to work for this company. I said, well, how are things there? Because they had just opened up this big office for like 200 people or some ridiculous amount they were willing to expand. And the week before the pandemic, they had cut the ribbon, they had this big ceremony to move people over. And then the pandemic happened and everybody had to go. I said, well, what's going on? He said, well, as soon as it happened, they sent us home and they tell us we on reduced pay. I'm like, what is reduced pay? He's like literally, like on work, whatever you do, work, we pay for it kind of situation. We went on a salary situation. He said we negotiating because we waiting to see what will happen and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. But he's the only one I know of who had that issue. I haven't heard of anybody in the agency. Well, I know that other agencies literally just closed office permanently. So I don't know what's going to happen now that they open up everything. Are these agencies that have closed and gone digital going back to an office situation?
It seems so, apparently so, and I really am disappointed to tell you the truth. Even though, I don't normally, I'm not one to possess high expectations of certain entities, but I was real disappointed mainly because all the feedback that I got from other creative directors and thing and people in the industry is that they didn't just get through, like able to sustain the business and thing. They were more productive, People are saying that higher levels of productivity, they get more work out of artists and writers. They're able to win accounts and thing, so like things was happening.
Yeah.
And it's kind of beat me to wrap my mind around what to make people push for coming back out to work. And this is beyond COVID and all that. This is as a business, why you would think it more profitable to do that. I don't know, maybe at a loss and not considering something, but everything that I see in terms of, and everything I read and observed for myself in terms of working in a remote context, because if you remove COVID from the scenario, it's not just work from home, it's work from anywhere that you have an internet connection, basically.
Yeah.
That broadened the scope so much in terms of how a creative could work, especially. Like why I want to even consider going back to older system.
Yeah, I got stuck in traffic going down to the grocery. I usually go on the grocery on the Wednesday mornings. And I got stuck in traffic. I'm like, this is giving me PSTD. I'm getting flashbacks. I remember sitting in traffic once for 2 hours coming out from Santa Cruz into town one morning. And I was in half an hour longer traffic than usual. And I'm like, I can't do this. I would prefer to avoid this. I don't know why people are rushing. Well, I mean, not people are rushing back, but people are being forced to rush back to this kind of way of doing things where you have to sit down 3 hours of traffic. Just somebody's complaining. Why do I have to go now and jump back in my car and drive to Port of Spain from San Fernando? Why? Why are you making me do this? And the answer is because this is what we've always done. I don't understand this the point of the prime minister saying we're going back to normal, but you said this is a new normal, so I don't understand. I'm confused now. Is it that y'all are just deciding, well, everything we did the last 2 years, all that don't matter. We haven't learned nothing. We have not learned anything. That's essentially what is scaring me most than anything else. We have not learned anything, and we don't want to learn anything. We just want everything to go back to normal. You see?
I have
So
a theory on that. If Anthony, you wanted to say something?
For me?
No, go ahead.
Wait my turn. Wait my turn.
no, go ahead, Anthony. You know how it is. If you want to say something, you know.
Yeah.
Don't be
So
afraid.
you know, well, the thing is, first of all, I find you being very generous when you refer to that agency as a creative agency. Um,
Yeah.
we had to start from there. You know, we had to start from why it is agencies closing down around us. You know, so I don't know if you guys heard, but Ogilvy is closing its doors come the end of this month,
Oh,
Wait,
right?
okay, that's news to me.
business.
Yeah, closing down, closing down.
I heard something of that nature.
Yeah, well,
Cover in the field, right?
a friend of mine from there called me and said, "Hey, this is the situation." So it was, you know, I taken it from them who work in there and as a past employee. So it's, to me, when we're talking about the context of advertising, we need to be specific. I mean, the prime minister could say what he wants. Creative,
Yes.
you know, the creative industry, you know, will change and has been changing and will continue to change because not just because a technology, you know, but COVID is as a catalyst, as a catalyst to move things forward into a digital space, you know, faster than we thought it would have been. You know, and so 2 years ago, we was thinking, you know, all these creative people who exiting from advertising agencies, the senior ones, who have the capabilities in one person as an individual to do what an advertising agency does. The time is now, and it has been for a while, where these guys are operating as agencies, you know, and they're teaming up with other professionals and they're doing these things. And this is why I don't know what happened in terms of that agency closing its doors officially, but I'm sure if it was in a different environment at a different time, they would have rallied out whatever it was, but not now. Things are so different. It's so difficult for agencies to compete. The ones that are still around, my advice to them is to learn from, you know, the others' mistakes, because it will become even worse come next year. You know, people are going to be much more savvy. People like myself, almost everybody here, are able to do work independent of advertising agency completely. You know, so what is the benefit of advertising agency? They're slower because the hierarchy, internal decision-making, you know, process, the politics, all these different things. So we can look at the agency model of 2-3 years ago and expect that to work right now. The ones who are making it work is because they have certain relationship with you know, what we call the big 8 clients in Trinidad, and those paying the bills and pretty much keeping them afloat. But to tell the truth, there are guys out here who I've seen come through advertising and you know, going off on their own, could win business from agencies very easily on their own.
Well, we had this boy, Kieran Khan from Huckleberry Media.
Good
He
friend of
calls
mine.
himself not an ad agency. And he said that in one of the earliest podcasts. He said that he is going after business that ad agencies traditionally had. And sometimes ad agencies bring him in because they just can't do the work. They're just not able. They just don't have not the resources. Well, yes, the resources in the sense that they just don't know how to deal with this requirement that the client is coming to them with. And they say, okay, well, we'll just hire Kieran to do it. And Kieran ends up saying, well, hey, I might as well just do the work for the client. I don't need the agency. You don't need the agency, or the client says, well, I don't need the agency. I can just go straight to. So you're kind of in a catch-22. I've seen that happen before. This is not a new phenomenon. But to come back to, there was a point you made, what was it, earlier? Oh God, I still remember. See, I should be making notes. There was a point made earlier about agencies being nimble, being, oh yes,
Being
that
able
was
to
it.
adapt.
Okay, so I worked on a project, a large project, and I'm kind of in a little bit of a situation because I was contracted to do a fair amount of work for the project within a certain scope. And the people in charge of the project on the client side have kind of asked me to do extra. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't really do that. And one of those things is printing. I'm not a printer. I don't have a printing press and I print things. I have to go and find a printer, source a printer. And they're like, yeah, well, could you pay the printer and then we pay you back? I'm like, no, I don't have that kind of capital. And when I thought about it, it's like, okay, these guys are used to just handing everything over to the agency. And then saying, okay, well, we pay you after, and the agency says, sure, no problem. So like $1 million to print 10,000 books or whatever it is, whatever it is, they would pay all of that. They would bounce that cost and then hope and pray the client pays them later. And that is what is now biting agencies in the ass, because I don't think a lot of these people are actually paying. You see?
Well, I think that's a big, service that the advertising agencies offered traditionally that an individual cannot. But I'll tell you what really changing, in my opinion, what has really changed agencies and the model, what has changed around them and their constant model. First of all, when digital came into play and advertisers realized that digital is going to be the future, we have to move our clients onto the digital space. What we did wrong as agencies was sell it as a cost-effective option. And so when you sell the client this as a cost-effective option, they're going to hold you to that, and they hold agencies to that to this day. 90%, I'm sure, I wouldn't say, okay, probably 75% of all agency work right now is social media marketing. And so what you have is the agencies are now glorified social media management teams, and they're spitting out social media calendars by the day. And the problem with that is there are multiple levels of problems with that. One of the problems is you now have to generate more individual pieces of creative, right? You are wearing down the creative, the workers, the creative, whether it's the artists, the writers, etc., strategists, that kind of stuff. And you're doing more work because back in the days, you do a campaign for 6 months and then you do another campaign for that same client for the next 6 months or so forth. Now a client wants a campaign every month. And so you doing the same amount of work for less money because they're not spending the budget. Yeah. They're not spending any budget, a fraction of the budget of what a yearly campaign would have been 10, 15 years ago. So now you have agencies that have to hire people to do something that they don't understand with a lot higher turnover, with a lot less money.
Yeah.
So they in head over heels, they don't know what they're doing, and it's only a matter of time where what is going to happen is more agencies are going to get smaller and smaller until they close shop if they don't change.
Yeah. But I want to add on to that and what you were saying before, Anthony. 100% on everything you say. I agree. But I want to kind of link it to what we're talking about right now as well, right? In terms of creativity and vision, the vision part of creativity, right? A lot of people went into this work from home scenario based on the pandemic as a temporary thing. That was the mindset that you're going to widen. that we're going to do it until, you know, we get back to where we were before.
Right.
And that is definitely not the way to do it. You know, it was about changing your perspective and going down a different path, right? If the path lead you to come back out to a physical office, so be it. But this was the opportunity to start creating business models and things that would be relevant to now, right? Because I mean, the truth is, we could have been working from home as creatives since in the 2000s, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Once the internet happened, work from home became an option. It would have been perfect, but it would get there. It would get
And
there.
not even just the internet. The internet happened, and I remember in the like late 90s, there was a agency that I was working at, and one of the directors' son was at MIT at the time, and he did a project that was a virtual agency back then using email base, you know, like email bins to set up and that. Like we could have do that a long time. So imagine, and you know, from the time you started to get things like you send it and thing where you could send really large files and you know, cloud stuff and all the other programs like software like Basecamp and them kind of things where you can actually structure your agency, had no reason for us to be in our office. But coming to what Anthony said, that was the same approach to digital on the whole, and you know, online and social media and all this. In the earlies, if you all remember, agencies were saying, and saying agencies meaning agency heads, and they know who they are.
Yeah.
Say, guys, you know, young people thing, and that ain't really going on catch on person, you know. I talking about back with Trini Scene and, you know, MySpace and High Five and them kind of things. That wasn't going to catch on.
Yeah,
But
it's a fad. It'll eventually die out. Yeah.
While we selling out events and thing by posting on Trini Scene and, you know, having a little high five thing and events selling out. So we using it and we know the power. And we're saying like we harness it. The wrong turn I believe we made, to add to all the other wrong turns that Tony was talking about there, is, and I found myself in the position, and that brought like great clarity. We cannot treat digital like this whole new magical entity that wasn't just an additional media channel. And I think that was the slip up. So you end up with, and people is course when I say it, you end up with digital agencies and traditional agencies, and there was no real need for that. You think? There's no real need for a creative to specialize in traditional, like how ridiculous that's something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a media channel. And what we are supposed to do as agencies is embrace the new medium and work it so that we don't create a scenario where we cannibalize in the scene. Because it's cannibalization right now to have one advertising budget and divide it between two agencies. One is a traditional agency and one is a digital agency, and essentially creating a scenario where you have, even if it is aligned, two separate campaigns. And of course, two businesses in the ring going to try and vie for as much of the pie as possible. When you could have one agency that is equipped and skilled to do both things. Well, I'm not saying both things, I'm gonna stop saying that. To handle all communication across all media channels, and they can have cohesive campaigns being built by doing media neutral ideas and translating that to the different channels very seamlessly. You think? So it is a whole scenario where, you know, it's just cycles of the same thing. The lack of vision, the lack of urgency to be relevant, and all these things, where we take our back seat and we decide, well, we go ride the train until the wheels fall off. You know, when the wheels fall off, is a rapid action. It's not like, hey, the wheels falling off, you know, so let me slow down the train. The wheels go just fall off and everything go crash. And that is just how things work. You know,
Quincy, I think you're right. It's the mindset. What is the mindset of a agency head now asking their employees to return to work full time, you know, you had to be behind. You're definitely behind in your thinking if that is your position. I'm trying to figure out because Ezra, my son, he's working for agency right now, and he, you know, they have kind of some you know, some sort of a rotation of time in the office, and you know, I could only, he talks to me about it, he tells me how he feels, you know, whatever. I'm not going to share it here, but the thing is, from the outside looking in, I'm feeling as though it's a move more about control as opposed to output of work and
Yes,
productivity.
But that's
absolutely.
always been the case. That has
Absolutely.
always been the case.
Okay, so
And that's a backward way to look
let
at
me
things.
put a pin in that for a second. I just want to say, I just want to read a couple of comments here from in the live because I don't want to ignore our viewers. Our friend Zcat Ragdir, Jared, she said she
Yes.
worked for the government and they've been out since October, November. And that's a vaccination thing. You know, they were required to get vaccinated, produce a vaccination card. And
Right.
that's a whole other story. I don't want to get into pros and cons of vaccination, anti-vax. That's not why we're here.
Yeah,
But,
that's another kettle of fish. Yeah.
one of the other things that somebody said was that, yeah, that was about it, I think. Yeah, other than that, our voices are out of sync. Well, yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
horrible at
to
this
be
crap,
expected.
the
Yeah.
technical
Sure.
stuff. But I'm really glad that people are here. We had about 5 viewers at one point. So we have some people jumping in. I just want to say hello to Ronald Hussain, friend of ours. Creative guy, but he never worked in advertising. Ronald, you should tell me what you're doing now. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you're teaching or something. Anyway, yes, go back, Anthony, go back to what you were saying. You're saying that it's not about output, it's about control. Absolutely. I think that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and so this is why you're going to fail, because when you have you know, individuals doing, because creativity is no longer, you know, centralized. It's decentralized, is democratized, whatever you want to say. You know, it's out here, and I could do a campaign, Quincy could do a campaign, any one of you guys could do a campaign, you know, and could do great work on your own. You know, you can bring in a writer if he's not a writer, you could bring in an artist if you're not an artist, and you do your things. And it's much more rapid in terms of how you build your relationship with a client directly and all of that kind of stuff. You as this institution thinking that, okay, well, you know, all is fine and dandy in it once people go back out to work, you're mistaken, because you will come back out there, you have your full force of workers who disgruntled because they know there's a better way. You know,
Yes,
they know that they don't have to show up for
absolutely.
work. You know, they completely you know, really unhappy with
And the morale is just so low. Yeah.
Exactly, but you're doing it nevertheless because you don't have to make a paycheck.
Yeah.
What are you going to really put out there as a creative, quote unquote, creative agency, you know, to compete?
The thing is that they try. Okay, so if we did a little timeline of progression of things, we were suddenly thrust one day we were told stay home, right? So I could just imagine sitting down in an agency, especially the agency that Jared and I were, and the two of you all were in at one point. You could just imagine what had happened. The minute somebody said, no, you can't go to work tomorrow, what do you think was the first thing they were going to say? All right, or let's stay home, but take all your computers that are on your desk and take them home. You realize that's what happened, right? They took all those big, heavy computers that we know that they were working on and carried them home, right?
Yeah.
So you know the infrastructure wasn't set up for that. And then to get the Zoom thing sorted out, to get your whatever thing sorted out, and then you realize, oh, I can have the same kind of meetings that I normally have in the office, but just on the computer. So now you're in a 2-hour meeting, which is totally ridiculous. And now you have all the memes of people putting up their fake photo and doing like what my son kids is doing in their class, used to disconnect and say, oh, the internet left, or whatever. All those kind of things used to be happening because you were trying to take what you did. in the physical realm. So moving on from, okay, so the agency was traditional, you send stuff to the papers, they get printed in the papers, the campaign was working, whatever. Now it's completely digital. Everything is digital. But yet you still want to hold on to, well, I want to do a traffic meeting for 4 hours. You all let us sit down here and listen to me talk about the work that we have to do for the rest of the week. Nobody have to do that. They could go off and use the bathroom and wherever they want to do it. It doesn't work the same way. The paradigm has shifted, but yet we're still trying to shoehorn in those old ways of doing things. And there was an article, I think about 9 or 10 months after the pandemic in the States, said, you know, and they said work from home doesn't work anymore. Everybody go back to the office. And I read it and I laughed. I said, all of the reasons this man writes, I think it was in Forbes, was because that same issue, managers could not physically control what their employees were doing. And it was just, amazing to watch. It was just amazing to watch.
So,
No
so it's
matter,
a-
yeah, 100% is just a matter of control. And in the agency context, I'll go far or further to say it is a scenario where, I mean, all of us know that you're working in an agency and you get that paycheck, and you'll still do some other work to enhance your income, right? Because a creative is a business. So you're just as a sole trader and you do your stuff and you're making money on the side, right? But you have this, even if you're doing that because you're enterprising and all this and you're ambitious, you have this control where you must put in a straight X amount of hours in a certain space. And in that space, if you're respectable, I mean, I can tell you, I never used to do any PJs on agency time, but luckily I don't sleep, right? Um, you have this control where the day is given to the agency, and then anytime afterwards, you scrape up and you do your thing. That's a certain amount of control to ensure that you do
Right.
have the flexibility to do more things. With work from home where you can't control that. And essentially on your time, but also on my space, and my time is kind of mixed into your time and all this. Then it had nothing stopping me from waking up early o'clock. I don't have to face traffic. So my workday starting at 6 a.m. And by 9 a.m. I finish my agency commitments. And from 10, I take a leisurely lunch, brunch kind of thing. And I start my other work that might take me from 1 to 4. And then I go out by the bar and I take a drink. And I have more of a semblance of a real life, and still achieving other goals and that kind of thing and going forward. I think it is a purposeful thing I think it's a systemic thing, whether it be mindful or not, that these kind of things, these checks and balances in place.
But
Big
can
as
I? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Sorry, Quincy. I'm so sorry. Because what you just said there about the semblance of a normal life, that was sorely missing. And this is before the pandemic happened. Because I'm talking from personal experience. I remember there were times when we were given stuff to do, and if we could have completed our tasks, and I was normally a person. If somebody gave me something to do, to work on an idea, whatever it was, I would conceptualize it, finish it. Like if it was a radio script, I'd finish it with in about an hour, an hour and a half max. If I had other things to do, I would do that, and that would be it. And then it would be punctuated by these long pauses in which I would have absolutely nothing to do. So I'm saying that if the pandemic had happened in my time frame when I was there, the agency, it would have been ideal for me. But unfortunately, we are so wedded to the old ways that we just don't want to divorce ourselves from it, because we figure that if we did that, it would all fall apart, and it would put an end to the systemic thing as Quincy so rightly described it. So yeah.
That's interesting, because I think they're trying to manage people's time when I think a more sensible approach to people at home is to manage productivity. It's you're dealing with the output of somebody's output, what they're able to deliver at a certain time, but not what they do during the day. And I think, you know, and so we're talking about creativity, and I want to stay to in the creative industry, advertising agencies and that kind of stuff. I don't know what the government doing. I don't know, you know, I really don't care. So we're talking about ways to be creative in not just the work we put out, but in how we approach the work, how we manage the work as agencies. You know, you can't tell me that you're a digital agency inside the pandemic and you have people coming to work daily. You're on shit. You know? I don't see how you could be thinking on that level to say, well, all right, these are the resources we have, these are the capabilities we have, these are the people that we have, and you still doing that. You forcing somebody to drive in traffic. Or some people want to have, depending on where you live, you understand, to come into a space, go and buy coffee around the corner, go and get lunch, have a chit chat, get distracted, when they could have been home, sleeping until 8 o'clock, get brush your teeth, have some coffee and start working. You have a much better worker, if you want to call them that. You have a much better human resource. Like right now, my day is structured where I work on my own time. My day is structured. I'm an early person. I'm up at 5 in the morning, sometimes earlier. You know, if I feel like it, I sit in my bed, I grab my laptop and I work one time. If I'm inspired, you know, by the time 10 o'clock, I done do like a half day's work already. I go have breakfast, watch some TV, sometimes even sleep, you know.
It was a shock for lots of people. I kid you not. One of our friends who still works at the agency, I don't want to call his name, but I messaged him because I know he's the kind of individual. Okay, so there's a sense of discipline that you need to get, and it took me a little while. And Anthony, I'm sure you developed this over time, and Quincy definitely over time. It's something that you develop when you leave the structure of the office and you are home and you have to do work from home. It requires you to be have a certain sense of discipline, because it's very easy to get lost in YouTube and Netflix and, you know, go and cook, and next thing you know, you spend 2 hours cooking and, oh shit, I had to go and do this. So you're right, there's a structure that needs to happen. You need to give yourself a routine. So when this guy ended up doing this, go straight from the office on Friday, and Monday morning he had to get up out of the bed to go and work on this computer in his home. It was he said, it's real difficult for me. He said, it's real hard for me to do this work. Now, I could understand that from a management perspective. As somebody like that, okay, you need to be in an office. But because over time, you had to develop this routine, or you'll lose your job, because at the end of the day, you know, you can't have somebody not producing. You can't be saying, well, you have all my equipment over you. If you're not doing anything, then, and I'm not seeing anything coming from you, then I go out to get somebody else, right? I mean, that's just business, you know? He realized he had to force himself to get into a routine. And he said, I work myself into a routine. I said, well, that's what we all have to do. We all have to do it. Creative people could, I know one of our friends used to was in the office at 11 o'clock because he used to work till 1 o'clock in the morning. That was his time. His time was to work from 5 p.m. 5 p.m. is like, okay, I now can work because nobody in the office, nobody here. I can work until 1 in the morning, go home, and then wake up late and come to work late and start the process all over again. And he used to tell him, no, you need to be in here at 8:30. He's like, I work until 1, 2 in the morning doing all your work. Give me that slack. And they're like, all right, cool, you know, whatever. So people have their, what's it called? Have their times to work. I realize that I'm better working in the evening. You know, like this hour here now when it's cool and, you know, things kind of calm down a little bit. And yeah, no problem, get a lot of work done, go and sleep, get up in the morning, you know. But I used to do the 4 in the morning, get up to go gym, then beat the traffic to go to work. And I realized I can't do that again.
So the thing is, and Ian, we're saying the same things. right? To get optimal output from a creative individual, that individual, and I'm saying this is optimal, this is ideal. Ideal is for you to understand yourself, understand how you produce, what time of day is your best, your production is. And COVID kind of did that, as you were saying, to most of us to figure out, how this works and how do I don't waste time. We shouldn't be talking to, I mean, sometimes I'm a little bit blunt, but we shouldn't be talking to people who not trying to make the best out of the situation, because we all in this, be in a situation is either you want to keep your job, you don't want to keep your job. We should be talking to people who want to be doing the best they can with the resources they have.
Yeah.
And the circumstances we face with.
Yeah.
And so whether it's an individual or your agency, in my books, what's the best possible way to make this work? Is it bringing back your workforce into the office, you understand, and have a whip over their head? Or is it allowing them to stay at home and understand the rhythms, understand how they best create and work that way? Because we have networks around the world, right? We have, Elance and Fiverr and all these different things, competing for the advertising space and branding and marketing and all that kind of stuff. And we're talking about back to the new normal, or we're talking about, is there a new normal, etc.
Yeah,
As an
exactly.
advertising
I don't think we want the new normal. But before we go on, I just want to mention some of the comments that were in the live chat. Travis Narayan, who used to be a student of mine at Costa and now is a friend of mine. I mentioned that he was working for the government. He clarified. He said, "I don't work for the government. Please clarify that." So he doesn't work for the government, but he is a graphic artist. So I'm trying to find out if he works for an agency on his own or whatever. I know he was working, and he said, my company realized that my productivity went up when working from home, but has decided to force all of us back into the office. You see, this is what's worrying me. I'm worried about this because you see the productivity go down. Even our friend Rika, who works for the government, she says they saw things improve, paperwork being done faster, things getting done, but they still want them back in the office. So I think they're hoping, they meaning management, hoping that productivity that they had will now suddenly appear in the office magically. Some magic fixing dust will make this.
That ain't happening.
I think they're back to new employees that get dipped in some sort of magic sauce that they're gonna
they went and got transformed. They went home and they got transformed into this perfect worker.
Well, into this employee that can now come into this unproductive space and be productive. Because really, I on record for saying this, right? And when you said since the invention of the internet, we didn't have to be report to work and that kind of thing. I a little extreme. I say since the invention of electricity, we didn't necessarily have to be in the office during the day. And that was a case for staggered working hours because I am a night person. Anybody that know me know that I am alive in the night. I just go and sleep 3 and 4.
You're the owl.
I will gladly sign up to be a vampire because that is just the life for me. Right? So, I would have loved back in the day. Actually, a dream of mine was to work for an agency that opened 24 hours and you could go in anytime and do what you had to do. Because I was saying they would never see me in the daylight. I will always clock in 6 o'clock and that kind of time after the traffic, after the wildness of the day, after I do what I have to do, and come in when it's my kind of time now and deal with matters and I would be real productive, right? But saying that to say, the whole, great power, great responsibility kind of thing, I was fortunate to get into managing my own hours real early in the game. And well, my good friend Anthony was there with me, where our office many days was a white Corolla. And it was on us to report by the doubles man, by Samad Bar, on time because we are shit to do. So and nobody didn't have no shotgun and no thing. we know we had to do that, so everybody report on time. You know, we had 9 o'clock. I there 8:30.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody reach it before 9 o'clock. Better bottom dollar we rolling out to do what we gotta do. But because that is the sense of responsibility that you have to have because of nobody over your back. If you don't want somebody running their life and governing there and all them kind of thing, then you have to run your life. And I would say this though, my experience, and I can't sit down here and pretend like if I was control my entire thing and all that. My experience kind of different because I was able to, or I should say I was fortunate to deal with people who would recognize that, hey, what, leave Quincy to do what he had to do and he would do it, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I was working in agencies that I had a work from home arrangement. You know, I was working in agencies that I report to work anytime I want, you know, but that wasn't just, well, we leaving him to run wild. That was Quincy work for that. You know, he worked real hard to show that if given the opportunity, he will deliver this way. So we had to take some responsibility. The individuals had to take some responsibility.
Yeah, I just want to mention before we get, Travis says he worked for a school. So I kind of say, okay, that's different. And now he's fighting me in the comments because he's like, he don't want to work. I'm like, no, but I mean, the teachers want to come out, but not him. I'm like, no, I don't think that's how it works. So Travis and I will have that conversation separate. But we're trying to stick to the agency, creative business. But a graphic artist who works for a non-agency business, I think it would be a little different. I think if you are a creative person and you have the opportunity to work from home, then yes, okay, no problem. But there may be certain cases where you would have to go to the office. I'm not saying, I am not advocating at all people not going to the office at all. Let's put it that way. In certain cases. So if you work for, I don't know, if you're working for Paria,
Oh, Lord.
I think you'll need to go to the office. I think you need to be in the office. Sorry, that was a very dank comment. But what I'm trying to say is that it in the case, okay, an ad agency, no matter how much they would believe, not changing the world. Okay, you're not here. You're not fighting no war in Ukraine. You creating ads, right? And as much as you like to think that you're doing the greatest thing ever, you're still doing ads. So
it's advertising. Nobody hide it.
You can do it from home.
Yeah.
You know, but I wanna just quickly touch on a point that I thought was very, very interesting. And so we're talking about the new normal, right? Why not change incentive package for creators to work? You know, because if you he was drawing
incentive package is to give you half pay. You want to work for
that?
half.
You see that I don't want to comment on that, but I find that border on industrial law business that is unacceptable completely and totally. That's some bullshit.
Agreed.
I am laughing not because it's funny.
Agreed.
I'm laughing not because it's funny, it's because I kind of know the individuals and I wouldn't put it past them. And they're not alone. They're not alone, because I heard somebody else who did not work in advertising, who worked in another company. During the pandemic, he told all his employees, oh, you all have to work from home, take half pay. And they were like, what?
But that makes no sense whatsoever.
Because you say you're all not in the office and you're all not producing anything here, so take half pay. And one of the guys said, I quit in, and he was like a project manager. He said, I quit in. And the fellow said, no, you can't quit. I need you to do this project. He said, I am not working in the office because this office is a company that requires people to come in and out now. They were essential, right? He said, I don't need to be here, right? I don't need to be here and I don't need to be exposed to whatever flying around. And he told the guy, I'm not doing it. And he said, I would prefer to quit. And the person said, no, I can't quit. All right. Okay, I will pay you. And it was a huge mess. It was like, you have to renegotiate your life working for somebody because the prime minister told you to stay home. It was madness. It was madness. I mean, things settled down after when they realized, well, this is now law and you had to do this and whatever. They're like, all right, we'll. But yeah, I mean, the first knee-jerk reactions to tell everybody to go on half day, which they did.
If I was, well, I was working with Ogilvy at the beginning of the pandemic in 2021. And we were actually quite, forward thinking and well, the fact is the company was trying to transition into semi work from home situation anyway, even before the pandemic. So when March 2021 came around and the Ogilvy International encouraged everybody to go home right away. But if I had to go back out to advertising now into an office, I wouldn't do it. I would quit. That because I find it something very backward thinking and something very regressive to know better and to go back to what is not ideal. And I think the heads of agencies, and I want to be specific to agencies, and I'm talking about the government, and I'm talking about, other offices and different things. In advertising, we profess to be creative people, we profess to understand innovation, we profess to be innovative for our clients, etc., etc. You have to live it. You have to
You can't just put lip service there. I just wanted to mention that there's a guy here called Quincy. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. Kinsale. This is Kinsale or Kinsale. Quincy Kinsale, because it's a public, thing. He said that his company is on off when it comes to working. But since the Prime Minister's announcement, management has said we're waiting on the Prime Minister's official announcement to mean everybody would come back out to work. And he's a graphic artist. So yeah, you're right. I mean, you cannot walk the walk. You cannot talk the walk or walk the talk or whatever. You can't say, well, we are a company that's forward thinking and moving with the times or whatever, and still making people do something that they know they don't have to.
You can't do it.
I agree.
I mean it's like trying to take the toothpaste out of the tube and trying to put it back in.
Yeah, I heard that as a metaphor. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. But Jared, you're in a different situation, like we said earlier. You have to be there.
No, I have to be there because I mean, in the perfect world, I would love to be doing my morning radio show from home, but I know that that's not possible.
Well, again, that's something that could happen, and it could happen. Being done.
It could happen.
It's being done.
It's been done. Yeah. It is being done. I know that, but again, for me to do that, it would require again a lot of imagination and a lot of innovation, and employees who are forward thinking.
Yeah.
And that is not going to happen anytime soon, because traditionally, but then again, I mean, when you really look at it, if you look at most of us as radio personalities, we do not operate from home. We have to be there physically to go on air, to talk and to play music and so on. That is something that practically everyone involved in radio has to do. Of course, it applies to television as well if you're doing TV news, So yeah, them's the breaks.
But I could get it for radio and TV, I would fight a case for that, even though I know people doing it differently in different places and seeing evidence of that. But I on Anthony's side, like if in terms of agency, but I could tell you straight up, I first to be home. If I was working in an agency, I'd be first to be home and tell my team they gotta stay home. I'd lobby for that. But I think it would have destroyed me if I was working in an agency. And after making the work from home work, the way that a lot of creative directors told me that it did, if I was in that position and I had a team that, real buckle down and prove their worth and show that they're responsible enough to make it happen and do the work,
Yeah.
and I get a directive to bring them back in, and myself, that would be it on spot. Like on spot, I'd have done. It would not have no back and forth. It would have be resignation, and not discussion. It would be resignation. And I'm not saying that to say and I spite nobody or as a vex thing. That would have be a clear indication that this is not a place for me to be. I'd have bust out. I can't. I would not be able to.
That's what I'm saying.
I think the key is we had 2 years to prove that it could work. We had 2 years to prove that it could work.
But the mindset here, as it the problem, the mindset is
That is the
went into this thinking that let's do this for the hour,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Which is a huge mistake because the concept, you all know the concept of work from home for creatives was on the table a long time in the 2000s.
yeah.
yeah,
There's a thing that going on since the 2000s,
yeah,
right? The point where there was an agency that I was looking at, and I thought a good compromise because they bought a nice property. A good compromise was an agency that had, different spaces and thing, and different places that a creative could pull a laptop. Well, I was for the writers at that point in time. I mean, hard luck to have a G something on the desk, right? But for writers, you pull a laptop and you go out by the trees and you go
Yeah.
wherever you don't need to sit at a desk and lock
Yeah.
yourself in wherever you feeling
Yeah.
creative and inspired this morning or this evening. You go and sit down there and do it. And that is a nice compromise if you have a space that could allow you that. But
Yeah.
and I think when we say work from home, we take it literally and we have it as the house. And a lot of articles that I read see that coming through that you're thinking about it as work from the house. Work from home is really a shorthand to mean you could work. And that means you can engage coffee shops if you want, again,
Yeah.
I'm taking COVID the scenario. Your coffee shop scenes. I remember actually I was looking at a franchise in about 2011 that was all for mobile workers, and they were creating little lounges and funky kind of lounges about the place that you could be a member and go in and do stuff. We had above that was doing something similar. Essentially, it means you could take your machine and your connectivity, and we have facilities that are allowing that big time now, and go on the beach and do your work.
Yeah.
You can rent a beach house somewhere and you and your friends go down there and at a certain time you have to clock in and do your work, and afterwards you're line, but you're in a line. We could do that.
Yeah. Which brings me to the point about brainstorming ideas. And Jared and I and Tracy and all of us have talked about it over the last couple of episodes. One of the things is that, and one of the things that I kept trying to tell these people when I was working at the other company is that we don't need to sit down in this office and come up with ideas. You're not going to get your ideas sitting down in a conference room. You got to go in a bookstore. You got to go and talk to people. The best ideas we came up with was some of us were going out in LSD Plaza and talking to people who playing Playway, and catching kicks to them and lining with them and getting good insights. Some of the best ideas came from what people said. I can't remember a specific example. I know for one of the bank clients, I remember one of the stories which I had talked about before, where we went to the line and we asked the guy, why you don't go in the ATM? He said, no. You see, I had to go and I had to see the money go from the hand of the teller and go in the back. And some, things like that, stories like that. And you're like mind boggled at the insights and the information that you get from JQ Public, you see? So going out there and brainstorming in an environment that gives you that facility can only increase productivity. Now I remember, and this is one of the things that Damien and St. Bernard and I had been talking about years ago when we were at the agency. He said, well, Google don't make it an office to go and do work, Google tell you could go to Ibiza and do whatever you want as long as you come back with an idea or whatever project you've been tasked with doing. Do whatever you want and come back. I say, yeah, well, that's Google, they have plenty of money or whatever. But the idea is solid. Once you come back with product, you see, then what's the problem?
That's the problem. Yeah. That is my attitude. Long as me the deadline was the problem.
Yeah. Once you meet
Okay,
the
so
deadline
Exactly.
and you have stuff that is reasonably presentable. In the sense that okay, I'm at a situation now where I could show the person what I'm doing so that they could give me feedback. You know,
Mhm.
we always talk about we call it the passion fruit. When we talk about the passion fruit, always standing over Natasha, watching what she's doing, and then calling in the office to scream at her because she's working on the wrong thing. Like, yeah, but this is what was given to me to do. This is what I'm working on. You know, why you screaming? I'm having to work from home now. You can't do that. You can't call them into the office and scream at them and say they're not working on something. And it's just, that's how it is.
Which is a plus, a benefit.
Yes, because why would you subject yourself to that kind of abuse? You see, which is what I don't understand why we're still doing it. We're in 2022.
Well,
We're
I
not,
understand. I
we're not in
understand the
1960
clearly.
something, we're not, we're not in 1800s where we all slaves and the plantation.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Well,
sorry.
speak for yourself.
Well,
They see it like coming from that angle, it not even coming from an angle that Larry makes sense of this and then Larry be logical about how this working and Larry consider
Yeah.
all the angles. It's just coming from a perspective of we want to maintain what we already, the stronghold that we already have. And
Now,
we don't want to that
one
can
of the
upset
other
the
things, sorry, one of the other things that I want to make sure to mention is that a lot of these companies, or the agencies, and the big agencies, and the medium agencies, and even the small ones, have created spaces for people to work in, have spent money to do so, and had to downsize that and find new space and make a new space where people could work half day and leave half day or whatever, half week or whatever. And now that things are freeing up, they're now thinking now, okay, now I need to find another space now to accommodate everybody again to bring them all back in the office. How am I going to do that? And I'm like, why? Why would you even think about doing that?
Yeah.
yeah. Also,
Unfortunately, it's very, very clear why they want to do that. And
They
that
want
is
to maintain the status quo.
for me, that is the disappointment. Um, that is the I mean, there's no other word. I am disappointed because it is so clear the reason behind it, and the only reason could be I need to know that you sitting in front of your computer, you understand, for the full 7 and possibly 8 hours you're supposed to be in my employee for the day, right? For no other reason. Because I've sat in agencies as a young designer, graphic artist, etc., where you have nothing to do and you have to pretend to be doing something.
Yep.
You know,
That applies to writers too.
that actually, Ezra actually told me that somebody told him that recently.
Yeah.
Sitting in front of a computer when he's editing something, but he's using his phone to edit because it's for social media, right? And he's editing on his phone. And he's like, they're like, do it on the computer so it looks like you're doing something.
You do know that
This is the
there are companies
mentality
out
we're
there.
dealing with.
You do know that there are companies out there. I've never worked in an agency until recently, where there are cameras watching you, and the owner has access to all of the emails and is reading all of the emails that you are writing to the employees. Well, I know about that, but what I'm saying is, a camera really in this day and age, you need a camera now to feel secure that your employees are working. What are we, 1984? I didn't sign on for that.
But there's a problem of understanding the different types of work. You have to, people like to call themselves, and we start calling agencies creative agencies and stuff like that. And we like to call ourselves creative agencies. But we are unique in terms of human resources when you're dealing with creative individuals.
Yeah.
It's a unique situation, and reason it's unique is because you're demanding this person to produce out of thin air constantly. You understand? And so in order to do that, you have to manifest some sort of these inspiration from inside, even if you don't get it from outside, and find a way to work it and do this thing. It is not a regular 9 to 5 where you come and you put a brick on top of another brick. It is not that. And as long as people try to manage creative people in that way, you're going to have problems. You're not going to get the fullest potential out of that person.
Tony, and I agree with you 100% that is what's going on, right? But you have to keep this in mind. Actually, you know what? Let me qualify my disappointment, because in the beginning I said I was disappointed, but I wasn't specific, right? I was disappointed that the pandemic didn't do it really what I wanted it to do. I thought the pandemic could have been the catalyst to change thinking.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
so.
yeah.
I thought this would have been speaking, like spoon feeding what people are talking about all the time.
Yeah.
But here's what happened. I realized that what we're talking about here, even though it's accurate, I don't think it's like new ground and uncommon and all that. Because again, if you apply what's going on now to a lot of things that we were talking about before, let's take digital. The reason why we didn't adopt digital the way that we were supposed to all this time, and we didn't pay the attention and thing, it's not because of the power and thing, and the effectiveness of the medium and all that. It's because the business model does not facilitate digital. The business model don't facilitate it. You understand? For the same reasons I spoke about before. Now the agency that have a particular business model that based on billable hours and all them kind of thing, they have something that alien from that structure, because as you know, online is all the time, basically. Online is real time and it's true and it all this. So it don't really apply to that, and it can't really charge the same way and make money the same way from it, and it don't get a agency commission and all them kind of things. Nobody wanted to derail, or well, they thought they had to derail that model completely. So nobody wanted to really tamper with it, right? And I mean, I could say this here because it's not my podcast, but there are certain people with interest in the media space in a certain way that scared of digital, that scared that it ruined their business.
Yeah.
So we don't have incentive for people to pursue something that's going against it.
Yeah.
And that is why it's happening. It's not because people don't know the power of digital, or people don't know digital is where it's at and what we had to do, and we had to change the structure of things and whatever. It's because they think, and I don't agree that this is the way it has to go. They think that if we embrace digital, it means the traditional media spaces, which I hate to use the terms digital and traditional.
Yeah.
The other media spaces will necessarily fall off. They wouldn't fall off. They don't have to die. We can repurpose them and use them the same way, right?
Yeah.
And everybody can eat our food. But the thinking is, let me keep it the same way because we know definitely we are control over it the same way, this way. And that's the problem. So with work from home, it's not that all the data not there. You Google that and you get a million articles telling you why you should do it, why it's working for now. You see everybody reporting globally more productivity for a number of reasons, and they're telling you and then give you percentages and all that. The only thing is, again, and I spoke about it on our status earlier, nobody want to make the change, right? And do the uncomfortable thing and be the one responsible for calling that change. That is what it is. And that coming from you think you have a mindset of this is how it works, that we don't upset the apple cart. That is all. And to me, that is not indicative of a creative space. So that's not creative thinking. That don't have no vision and insight in it and all that. And I just carry on with it.
Yeah, the thing is, I want to put it in a broader sense. Well, maybe not a broader sense, but within a mindset of we are in a situation where there is a lot of things that we used to do in our territory, in our country, that we don't do again, and it's not generating wealth for us. And you're absolutely right. We have not seen the forest from trees. We're not understanding that this creative thinking that we're talking about here is where we need to go. That's where we need to go. We shut down our refinery. We don't produce gas and oil and stuff again. We're not selling nothing here again, you know. We don't, the government keeps saying, don't worry, our what you call it, our foreign exchange reserves, when we find, don't worry, I'm like, we
Heritage
don't
and Sterilization
sell
Fund, yeah.
anything here again. We don't sell anything. How are we going to bring in foreign exchange if we don't sell nothing? You see? So we have all this potential, and I used to say this for years. We have a lot of potential for creative thinking and for doing creative things. But for some reason, we just sit down there and say, well, yeah, maybe somebody else would do it now. And that's what again, I was reinforcing what
You
you said.
know,
That's why I was saying that the pandemic, I thought the pandemic was going to start revolutionizing things. That was,
you know,
boy, was I wrong.
Ian, one second. Ian,
Yeah.
I find creative thinking is not required to maintain a product for sale as a country. We don't need creative thinking for that. That's like a matter of course. These are the things you need to do as a country. You know, so I don't see, you know, creative thinking come into play there.
Yeah.
Because these are things you're supposed to be doing. I refuse to talk about politics because I'm completely radical when it comes to that. People think that, you know,
Anarchist.
yeah, we live in the wrong country, all of that kind of stuff. So we're not gonna get in there, you know, but I'm saying, you know, in the creative space that we talk about and we represent and we look towards for you know, because these are the companies that are saying they're taking their clients into the, you know, into the future. What are they doing? You know, they talk the talk in terms of we are, you know, innovative, we are creative, we blah, 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 blah. And that it stands to be proven because if you talk it, you know, you speak that, but you don't practice it in the way you conduct your business in a space. I mean, if it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, then fine. But in a space now where the potential to lose your company is real and you're still not doing anything,
There's something wrong.
I have a problem with that.
Yeah,
There's something wrong with that.
absolutely.
You know, I
Absolutely.
have a problem with that. And it is intentional backward thinking to not try to optimize yourself with the technology, the human resources, the capabilities, the connectivity, you know, and even the social issues in terms of social understanding, in terms of work-life balance and these types of things. You understand? You don't even have that in your brain. How you can represent your clients, your brands that you represent effectively. I find you on shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a whole other discussion now on the client side. There's a whole other discussion which I don't really want to get into because we're getting pretty late in the evening. But there's a whole other discussion of what clients are willing to pay for now. And that's a whole other thing about budgets shrinking, getting more bang for buck. We've been saying that for decades, more bang for buck, whatever.
Well, be a partly responsible for that.
Yeah, what I'm saying is right now there's a
partly
situation where, as I mentioned in the beginning, where what the agencies used to do, they're asking smaller companies or individuals to handle, you see, because they don't want to pay.
Yeah, but that's a fault of the agency.
Right, no,
Like,
I'm not saying no. What I'm saying is that we need, that is a whole other separate discussion to talk about from the client side. Where is it that the clients want to see themselves? Okay, so you don't want to, okay, so in the old days, you wanted to have an agency who would solve your problems fair. You just pay the agency, they solve all your problems fair, wherever it is, right? That's the old way of doing things. The new way of doing things now is what? What do the clients want now? What do they want? Is it just that they don't have money and they're trying to find the best way to get what they used to get for next to nothing? I'm not sure. I'm not sure where we are. And then on the same level, you have agencies pitching for business and sending budgets that are unrealistic. Not that they're over the top in the hundreds of thousands of dollars anymore. They're charging $10,000 to do a project that it should be within the $100,000 bracket. Why? just because you want the business, you're going to undercut yourself so that you could get the business. It doesn't make that. So that's a whole other discussion that I would like to get into at a future date. But that's the next side of the coin or the equation.
Yeah, but I think you're answering your own question, Ian. I think you're
Yeah.
answering your own question. Agencies are at the forefront of that behavior.
Yeah.
They are the ones who encourage that behavior. They are the ones who promote it, and they are the ones who feel the brunt of it at the same time,
Right.
because of this.
Well, they reap what they sow. They reap what
Exactly.
they sow. Yeah.
Exactly, because that's what they do. Yeah.
And look, no matter there's an example that I draw, analogy that I make all the time. I'm gonna call that back. I'm not gonna be them. But orchard, right? Orchard is make juice and thing, right?
Yeah.
We as creatives, no matter what we think, would never think a day to go to orchard and say, you know what, you should be having pulp in your juice because fruiters do it. You understand? Or I buy a Minute Maid and I get pulp, so you should put pulp in your juice, because that is not we place. That is not our place.
Right.
That is not our job and our role. We know our role is communication, right? We in charge of that. So whatever going on and whatever clients thinking and whatever consumers thinking, we in charge of that. That is our job. Our job is to regulate that. And what we don't do, for quite some time, we have not been doing it, at least to my knowledge and from what I observe, is take charge of it. We don't take charge of it. And again, all that systemic, all that is a position that certain people want to play in the cycle of the thing. They don't want to upset the apple cart. They don't want to do this to throw off this and all that. All them things laid in a certain way for things to run in a certain way. So if you want to play that game, you gotta expect that. Which is why I say my disappointment was not the agencies, you know. Agencies will do what agencies do. But I'm disappointed with the impact of the pandemic. I thought the pandemic could have made us do certain things that we was questioning. It was giving us the opportunity here now, right? To think about what it is we was doing and certain things that people put on the table, because again, I reiterate, work from home is not a new thing that we was clamoring for. Work from home was something that was on the table a long time. People are saying we could do this. But the pushback was productivity, and people will do their work and this and that and whatever. Okay, cool. And I can't beat it down because we ain't ready to test it out. And I don't know. I'm not gonna put my head on a block for nobody, right? So we rock with it, and we know what we had to do, and we make compromises and all that. But then boom, pandemic hit. You have to do it now. Everything that we were saying to do long time, and we should have been there, and pandemic hit, and it should not make no huge difference. We just either go heavily on one of the things that we already set up proper, or we just continue running because we already set up proper over here. We have to do it now, and we adjust quickly, right? People implement things, cloud stuff, and we sort out the Zoom thing and all them things, and we operate it, and we didn't miss a beat, and we come out with higher productivity.
Yeah.
And you're still saying no.
Yeah. I just want to read a comment here, which is funny, from friend Travis. So the comment from, I don't know if you all know Nicholas Maxwell, he's an animator. Nicholas is a friend. Right.
Yeah,
Nicholas say, I can't take this slavery. Right? So he not in this slavery thing, right? He's all slavery. Right? And Travis says, don't worry, Anthony, I've been called Obergruppenführer already for my views on politics, right? So I don't know what DBU means, but okay, that's all the young people talk, right? So then Nicholas says, I know they're not getting $100,000 worth of work for $10,000. And I said, yeah, but they will try. You see, they will get a man to do it, one man, and kill him. To get that, they're gonna try to do it. Don't get them wrong, agencies. So you're right, Quincy. The agencies will do what agencies will do, right? So they'll say, yeah, man, I can do that for you for 10,000 and run a man into the ground to do it, right? Get some young boy and run him into the ground to do it, right? But then good point being made by Travis is that the that 100,000 for 10,000 is why some companies brave enough to advertise 5 jobs in one and get away with it. And that's a whole other discussion. Karen
is a
Rose
whole
bust our mark earlier this week. You see?
That is a whole other discussion. That one is a big one.
Yeah. I want to get into that. I want to get into that on the client side because that was rolled into the client side. Why are clients asking a man to do basically advertising for an agency internally with one man? That's it. But that's again a whole other discussion, and we'll get to that. We have plenty
That's
of
not important right now. That's not important.
That's important right
that's not important right now, guys. I think we had a very, very good, very heated kind of consistent conversation tonight, and we got a lot of good comments from our viewers. We had 7 viewers. I just want to read out the poll. I want to read out the poll. I did 2 polls. The first poll was, are you working from home still, or are you being made to work in the office? And out of the 8 people who voted, 63% said they work from the office, and 3, which is 38%, says that they're being made to work at the office. So there's still a little bit of transitioning, so we're in that transition. The other poll was, would you prefer to work from home or in office? And you could guess the answer for that. 8 votes. 100% work from office, work from home.
Not a scientific poll. Not a scientific poll.
Not a scientific, but I mean that gives you an idea that you open Pandora's box. What do you expect? What did you expect? Did you expect you just close it back and everything will be back to normal? I always say that. Why would you expect that? Anyway, Jared, what are we defining this evening to close us off? Are we defining
what are we defining?
slavery? Let's define slavery.
Oh my God.
You are asking me to define slavery.
Why not? Why can't I ask you to define slavery?
Oh dear God.
You want me to define slavery?
No, please don't. Slavery. Okay. In the modern context of slavery, let's put it that way. Okay. In the modern context of slavery, I would define it as
neo-slavery. Let's call it neo-slavery.
Yeah, as working long hours and doing absolutely nothing. You do your work, but you're still there, and you're wondering what else is there to do, and you're not getting paid handsomely for it. Yeah, and you're giving your metaphorical blood, sweat, and tears to the company, and the company won't even so much as fart on you. But that's not important right now.
That's not important right now. Guys, thank you very much. I was hoping that we had gotten some other people like Joshua to come, just to throw in their weight. But I think this was good. I think we got a nice kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to have Quincy and Anthony on. Always. Really glad to know. Thanks, guys.
And I just want to say, in celebration of it, the 10th, I was drinking some bubbles. And in celebration of work from home, I did this entire thing in my drawers, right?
Oh, pretty! Nice. I love it.
All right.
And I hear feeling bad in my shirt.
I have a confession to make.
Full boxers now.
I know some of our viewers are going to be like, oh my God, what is Ian wearing? Ian is not going to tell you what he's wearing. I don't want people bleeding.
Benefits of work from home.
Work from home is, well, I mean, the thing about it is my room is a state of confusion and mess. It looks like a slum. I look like I live in a prison cell, but that's all right. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's not important.
That's what important.
Thank you, guys.
Hey.
Hey, guys.
So everybody have a good week, because y'all will hear this podcast, those of you who couldn't join us for the live, and we were really glad for the people who came for the live. Travis, Ronald, Mac, Nicholas, VCAT, all of these people, thank you so much. What was this other guy's name?
She,
Um,
she can sail. Is a lady.
Sale. Is that a lady?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't know why I thought it was a guy. All right. And then
Oh, God.
there was a one other person. Hold on. Let me say thanks to this person because she started off early in the cast, and then she I don't know.
Meister.
Yeah, yeah. She was saying that she wanted to do one of my classes at Costa, but she never got the opportunity. Unfortunately, I will probably never be teaching at Costa ever again, but that's not important right now.
That's not important right now.
So thank you guys.
Hey,
I'll see you
Thanks.
next week.
See you guys next week.
All right.
There you go.
yeah, all right, have a good evening.
Have a good one.
It.
You.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
You. Yeah.